My name is Ashley McCarty. I'm the director of the Workforce Recovery Program at the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. So I help employers, me and my team help employers with creating a recovery-friendly culture in regards to substance use disorder, mental health, and fair chance hiring. So we help businesses across the state of Kentucky with things like benefits, policies, procedures, recruiting, retention. We even have an employer resource guide that we created that's on our Kentucky Comeback website, and it has all these different sections throughout the employer resource guide, like the policies or procedures or benefits, and employers across the state of Kentucky can go on there, access this employer resource guide, and they can get ideas on how to create that recovery-friendly culture in regards to the substance use disorder, mental health, and fair chance hiring. So if you're an employer that needs help with creating that recovery-friendly culture and you would like to access the employer resource guide or access the website for training, you can go to www.kentuckycomeback.com. There's tabs there for the employer resource guide, and there's also within the employer resource guide, there's a tab for training. So we offer specialized training, which is absolutely free to any employer in the state of Kentucky regarding the substance use disorder and mental health and the stigma that surrounds both topics. Also at the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, we have the Who's Hiring campaign. This is hosted on the KentuckyComeback.com website. And what it is we have a fair chance campaign. And so individuals who have been formerly incarcerated or those that are in recovery that are looking for a fair chance can go on this website of the Who's Hiring, and they can find employers who are saying, I'm fair chance, so I'm open to hiring individuals who have been formerly incarcerated. I'm open to hiring those individuals who are in recovery. So if you're an employer who wants to be a fair chance employer, you can go to www.kentuckycomeback.com, go to the tab Fair Chance Hiring, and you can post a position saying, hey, I'm a fair chance employer. If you're an individual who is looking for employment, meaningful employment, and you've been formerly incarcerated or you're in recovery, you can also go to the website, go to the Fair Chance Hiring, and click on the Fair Chance job board. There is over 12,800 fair chance jobs on that job board by over 690, almost 700 employers. So when I'm working with employers, I always focus on the fact that addiction or substance use disorder is a disease. It's a chronic brain disorder. It's not a moral failing, and it's not a choice. And so we talk to employers about that. So if you had an individual in your workforce that was struggling with another chronic disease, whether it be hypertension, diabetes, cancer, they come forward to you or HR and they talk about this, what do? You help them. You help the individual. So why do we treat substance use disorder any different? We shouldn't. If we have a workforce and an individual comes forward, we should also get that individual struggling with substance use disorder help. We have to help them just like any other individual that's struggling with a chronic disease. So before I go into a little bit about myself, I'd just like to reiterate that I am a director at the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce for the Workforce Recovery Program. And you'll understand in a minute why that's such a big deal. And I just want to emphasize that people can change and there is hope, because almost 8 years ago, on July 20th, 2013, I was reborn. I was given a new life. So I was a pharmaceutical sales representative for about 7 years. And I was a top performer, number 5 out of 10,000, going to Italy, Paris, Hawaii, traveling the world. Then I had a couple surgeries and got addicted to opioids. My performance as an employee started to plummet. I started calling in late or not calling in at all, missing work, missing deadlines, not meeting, let alone exceeding goals any longer. I actually struggle with mental health as well. And on a business trip, I actually had my second suicide attempt on a business trip. and I was staying at a big fancy hotel, but I didn't leave the hotel by walking out. I left that hotel on a stretcher with EMS pouring charcoal down my throat, trying to bring me back. I went to the hospital. I went to the psych ward for a couple weeks, and then I was expected to just get on an airplane, fly back to Kentucky, and go to work that next Monday, which I did. But then soon after that, I lost my career. It wasn't very long after that I was no longer employed. I moved on to buying pain pills off the streets, and eventually I couldn't find them anymore. So then I moved on to other things like methamphetamine, and soon after that, I lost everything I'd ever worked for and everyone I ever loved. I lost my home, I lost my family, I lost my friends. I had no money anymore. I felt like I was all alone. And I started living in my car, bouncing back and forth from my car to a metal building with no plumbing, because we had sold all the copper to buy drugs. And so that led me to living in my car and using the bathroom in a bucket. That's where I was 8 years ago. So now I have to pinch myself knowing that I'm the director of a recovery program that helps employers reduce this stigma that surrounds substance use disorder, the formerly incarcerated. Because we can no longer just turn our heads to this and sweep it under the rug. It's something that needs to be talked about, needs to be brought up, because if you as an organization or a business don't talk about it, it just increases risk, liabilities, it increases workers' compensation, risk of injury to others and the individual themselves. But I did go to jail. I went to treatment. When I got out, I sat down on the couch and I thought, what do I do now? I no longer have a livelihood. I no longer have a purpose, and I'm never gonna find meaningful employment ever again. But luckily I do have a bachelor's in psychology, and I applied with a treatment center because I've always heard you have to give back what was given to you. So I applied with that treatment center and I got hired. They gave me my first second chance. I worked there for about 4 going on 5 years. And then this position opened with the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. And of course I thought they would never hire me. They would never give me a chance. I have a record, I have a background. They see me as that individual in that mugshot, that picture. But I applied because something told me to, and 350 other people applied for the position, and me and one other individual actually got hired. So, sorry, I don't mean to get emotional, but it's surreal. It's like a big deal because I was hired as an employment specialist and now I'm a director, and I was living in my car almost 8 years ago. So people do change. There is hope, and we have to give second chances. We have to give second chances. It's so important to have meaningful employment when you're in recovery or you've paid your debt to society. Meaningful employment is part of the process, and it's what it keeps people in recovery. So please, as an employer, keep that in mind. And come to the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce for help. If you need help creating that culture, that's what I'm there for. That's what my team's there for, is to help reduce the stigma that surrounds mental health and substance use disorder. So individuals who enter in recovery, the number one thing they want is to stay in recovery. The second thing they want is meaningful employment. So not just employment, but meaningful employment. And that's different to every individual. And that's so important because it gives you a purpose. It gives you a livelihood. I remember I had no purpose whatsoever, or at least I thought I had no purpose. Then when I gained meaningful employment, I had a purpose. I'm living out my purpose right now. I mean, in this very moment. Due to meaningful employment, employees in recovery have less turnover and miss less days of work than who? The general workforce. So these statistics are proven, and I think they're due because this individual now has a purpose. They want to be an honest employee. They want to be a loyal employee because it's not only their livelihood, like I said, but it's their purpose. And what is a purpose? It's the reason you get up every single day. That's a purpose. And so meaningful employment is so important in that aspect. And that's why those individuals do have less turnover. And that's why those individuals do miss less work. So as a director of the recovery program with the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, it's not only my job, but it's my passion to help individuals in recovery or those that are still struggling in active addiction. So if you're in recovery, congratulations, great job. Keep doing what you're doing, keep relying on your support systems, keep reaching out because you're not alone. And if you're someone who's out there still actively struggling with addiction or substance use disorder, I promise you, it's so much better on this side. There's always hope as long as you're still breathing. So please remember that. And if you feel as if you have no one to reach out to, please reach out to me and I'll share some hope with you.
And that was where I was at. I mean, for years I wanted to quit. I want a better life too. I want a good life without being hooked on drugs or alcohol, daily. But I don't know how to quit, And even though you're at the brink of death, I don't know how to stop. I want to. People think, well, that's what they're choosing to, like they're committing suicide. I had somebody ask me that one time when I overdosed. A relative said, I want you to be honest with me. Were you trying to commit suicide? Because that's what it looked like. And no, I wasn't. I'm just getting high and I'm stuck in the grips of addiction. I don't know how to get out. Well, my name's Jeremy Calder. I'm going to speak a little bit about alcoholism and addiction. I'm an active member of the recovery community. I'll tell you a little bit about how I ended up here. My mother was a heroin addict when I was a kid, and she's a recovered heroin addict today. She's got 12 years clean. And my dad died from, for the most part, from complications from drinking and smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day. But yeah, it runs in my family pretty strong, so I guess you could, whatever you want to call that, I guess you could just say I come back pretty honestly. I had a pretty rough childhood. I went to a different school every year, and I like to mention that just because that kind of created a chameleon. I was always the new kid, always trying to fit in, always exaggerating who I was, what I was doing. The peer pressure did get a hold of me early on. When I was 16, I started smoking and drinking at the football games, just because I wanted to fit in. And even though I knew what it did to my mother, I had a really rough childhood. And so I had seen all kinds of, physical abuse, verbal abuse, and from being exposed to all that, you would think that, and most of us do, I was like, I'm never going to be like my mother, that part of it, or I'm never going to be like my father and drink all the time. And then ultimately, for some reason, that's exactly what happens to a lot of us, and that was what happened to me. I wanted to fit in so bad with the kids in high school and being the new kid and stuff that I was ready to do whatever, and not only that, take it to an extreme level. That's always been the thing with me. If you've done this or that, I got to tell a story that one-ups you, and if you're drinking, if you can funnel 4 beers, then I'm gonna try to funnel 6 or whatever it is, always trying to do more, and it's amazing how far that mentality right there will take you. I wanted to be popular and known, and that was really the only thing that took like that gained me that popularity. So everywhere I went, that's what I was known for, taking it to the extreme, partying, doing whatever. And so I was even doing, I started doing harder drugs before I got out of high school. Not all the time, but just partying. That's kind of what we looked at it as. It was mostly a weekend thing. It's funny how that escalates. By moving around as a kid, that same mentality as an adult, I run from my problems, so I just pick up and move, and something we say in recovery, and it's true, is wherever I go with me, there I am. And when my daughter was born, I remember telling myself, because I was an everyday drinker, that, well, I'll just drink on the weekends, and we talk about that in recovery, all the different ways and ideas that we have to try to justify or make it rational that we're able to control it, and so I'm just going to drink on the weekends, and Monday through Thursday, of course, I'm biting my nails, can't wait till Friday, and I lived in Somerset at the time, and it was dry, so I'd come up here and get 2 30-packs of Busch beer, and I drink 60 beers on the weekend, not partying, just at the house, mowing the yard, cooking out, whatever, and I was so proud of myself because I wasn't drinking daily that I always had, that I was going around telling everybody I pretty much quit, because everybody asked me, well, how's your drinking? Because they knew I had a problem. I've pretty much quit, and my wife at the time, she'd say, you drink 60 beers on the weekend in 2 days, you haven't quit. So then next was pain pills, and I remember when I took my first pain pill, it was just like, wow, back when the Oxycontin was real bad, and I got really bad on those. I was doing 6 80s a day, and that's a really high dose as far as milligram goes, and in order to do that much, you're going to have to figure out a way to get it. So I started selling them, in order to take care of my habit. I ended up on heroin, and obviously it gets real bad then, and for me, I was always one of those, well, not yets, is what we call them, well, I don't use, I just use pain pills, I don't use heroin. I'm not like them. I'm not that bad. And at the end, if it wasn't for Narcan, I wouldn't be here. I've been saved and brought back by the Madison County EMS 4 different times, and very thankful for them and Narcan. But even the overdoses wasn't enough to stop me, because I don't know how to stop, and one of my episodes of desperation and delusion, the same officer and I don't know if it's the same EMS group, but the same police officer showed up to the scene, and I can hear him telling the EMS that basically, in his own words, that I'm not worth saving, like this is the 2nd time in 1 month that you guys have had to save this guy, and they were talking about me like I was a stray dog or something, and I'm thinking in my delusional mind that, man, I hear them talking about me because they just brought me back out of this overdose, and I'm like, man, I'm not that bad off, and here I am overdosed twice in a month, that they saved my life twice in a month, and I still think, well, I'm not that bad off. I ended up going to treatment, and I had private insurance at the time, so I went to a really nice treatment down in Florida. They put me on a plane, and I thought that's what treatment was. I had no idea, and I'm going to tell on it a little bit. In the detox, we had gourmet chefs, we had Netflix, down comforters, we had Tai Chi, acupuncture, cappuccino machine, all the ice cream you wanted, and it was medical detox, so we had a nurse every 4 hours. It was like vacation. So I thought that's what treatment was, and the ideas of, man, my life's gonna be great. And I come back from there, and I overdosed a week later. I overdosed in my graduation recovery shirt. I ended up caught a felony charge, a couple of them, and I was facing 3 to 5 years in prison. And I got out on MCR, and it took them a year to final sentence me. So I was already actively involved at the dry dock. I got involved in a home group and started attending. I went to a meeting every night for the first year, mostly because for me, I didn't find the kind of freedom that I have today right off. So when people, talk about the meetings or whatever, I didn't trust myself. So I only went to work in a meeting. That was the first time that I'd ever been able to pass drug screens successfully, especially once a week for a year. When I did go to final sentencing, me and my attorney went up front in front of the judge, and even all the way up to the last minute, he's telling me, you're probably going to have to turn around, you're getting cuffed up, you're probably going to at least have to do a year. And I had full acceptance going up there, and my attorney stood there, and every good thing he said about me was from a 12-step fellowship, my active involvement in recovery. Every good thing he had to say about me, I was like, wow. Ended up probating my case, and I got 3 years probation, and I just recently got done with that. Not only did I do the conditions of release for a year, but I've walked off 3 years probation, So today I'm GSR of my home group at the dry dock, and I'm also the current president of the dry dock. I've never really had a positive contribution to society or really never contributed positively to my life. I was always kind of out to do whatever I wanted to do. And not only do I participate in my life today in a positive way, but I contribute, man, to our recovery community. And I'm pretty passionate about it. It gives me great purpose. I'm able to sponsor other guys and show them the way that was shown to me, guide them through the steps. And my daughter lives with me today. She's 16. I have a nice place to live, a good job. I couldn't be more blessed with my life today. I have a lot of peace and serenity that I never had before. I'm free today. And something we say in recovery is, how free do you want to be? That's it. It's up to you. And we talk about losing the power of choice. It's really ironic, because once we work the 12 steps and get sober, that's exactly what you get back. The power of choice. There's also a shift in recovery too, and there is funding being available for new treatment centers, new sober livings, and that's really what we go to these events and we want to speak about, like the awareness, not only changing or erasing the stigma, but just to raise awareness that there's help. You no longer have to suffer. There is resources out there. Used to it be, when I called the first time, they said it was going to be a few weeks before they could get me in. I told them, I'll be dead by then. I need help immediately. If I'm suffering from the addiction that we're talking about, I need help immediately. And that's available today.
Liberty Place is a 108-bed residential recovery program that works to restore opportunities to help you live a sober, successful life. I'm Chastity, and I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is 11/16/19, and I walked through the doors of Liberty Place Recovery Center a hopeless and broken woman. I was completely empty on the inside, and I didn't think there was any hope for me. Through being here and working the steps, I've learned that there's a better way to live life. I now know that there's hope and a better future for me and my family. I can suit up and show up and be the mother that my children deserve to be. So when my parents divorced, it was a whole different lifestyle for me. Everything that I knew, it was just ripped out from under me. My parents separated. They separated my brother and I. He went to live with my dad. I was with my mom. She was working all the time. I was alone. I felt abandoned. So I turned to drinking and using, hanging out with the wrong people, and it led me down the wrong path. I got involved in relationships that were not good relationships, that involved a lot of drugs and drinking and abuse, and that's what my life consisted of for many years. Well, I had my first daughter, and I didn't know how to be a mother to her. Her dad had got arrested and went to prison, and I was left alone at 17 to raise a daughter, and I didn't know how to do that. So my mom got custody of her, and when that happened, I just went stronger and further in my addiction. I completely lost track of time and lost track of who I was. Everything that mattered to me didn't matter anymore. All that mattered to me was getting my next one and numbing those feelings. Before I knew it, I woke up and my daughter was a young little girl, and I had missed out on so much. And I would try to go to maintenance programs and try to do better, but I just couldn't. I guess I was dry for periods of time, and it just never would stick with me. I never could. I would do good for a while, and then it would just drop back off to, I would start drinking again, and then that would lead into other things. So this time I ended up catching a possession charge, and when I did, they locked me back up, and they told me they were sending me to long-term recovery. They told me I was coming to Liberty Place Recovery Center, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to Liberty Place Recovery Center in my hometown. I can't get sober here. It's not gonna happen for me. I was really closed-minded about it, but I prayed about it, and I knew that I wanted something different. My daughter had just buried her dad, and she had, talked to me, and I had made her a promise that I would come here and give it a shot. I just asked God to give me the strength to be able to sit still and to listen to what everybody had to say and to be able to keep an open mind, and I did. So before I got here to Liberty Place, all I had heard was the horror stories about how awful this place was, and how you would just be here forever. And I was really hesitant on coming here. I had every intention of walking in the front door and going out the back. But something changed that morning. When I walked through the doors, Miss Kathleen greeted me, and I walked in, and all my sisters that I didn't know at the time, they come down and helped me with my bags and helped take it all up to SOS and welcomed me, and I could just feel the love right away. And I could tell that all the stuff I'd heard wasn't true, and that gave me the hope that it could work for me. I had been in jail for a while, so I wasn't used to getting up early and following orders. I'd been doing what I wanted to do for a really long time, but I didn't understand what the point of getting up early was and going to bed at a certain time and eating at a certain time. But as I progressed in the program, I began to see that it was teaching me responsibility and a new way of life, to suit up and show up for myself and the people around me. And since then, things have done nothing but brighten up for me. The fog's cleared, and I don't only see things in the darkness here, like they're bright now. I don't see Richmond as being just this awful place to live. I see a bright future for me and my family, and that's all because of what Liberty Place has given me. When I came here, I couldn't look myself in the mirror. I didn't like the sound of my voice. I didn't want to let anybody in close to me. I didn't want them to know the real me because I was afraid they wouldn't like me. Today I know that people love me for who I am, and they accept me for who I am, and that I am a good person. So this is the living room. This is where we just hang out and talk and spend time with one another. This is where we get to do our wrap up with SOS and incorporate them with our evenings, because we can't really go up there and do the things that we normally do with them because of COVID. So we hang out down here in the evenings and do that over Zoom. So being in the kitchen has been some of my best memories, and it's given me a chance to give back to my sisters. Alright, welcome to SOS. This is where you come in when you first arrive. Right now things look a little different. Usually there's bunk beds, but due to COVID, this is how things are set up right now. So this is where you'll spend like the first week, and you have food, you can eat whenever you want, drink whenever you want, watch TV. It just gives you a comfortable place to be able to come to terms with what's going on and get comfortable with Liberty Place. So MT is motivational track. It is the next step after you leave SOS. It is where you first start really learning about recovery and what the disease of alcoholism is. You get to start trudging and walking back and forth to meetings and really bonding with your sisters. So after MT, you get the privilege of moving to your own room. With more privilege comes more responsibility. So you get to clean up after your own living space. It gives you a chance to get comfortable with yourself and spend more time being alone, which is really great. So after phase 1, you get the opportunity to move to phase 2 or go into the peer mentor's office and have a chance to give back. So this is the cafeteria and where phase spends the majority of their time. This room is where the miracles happen. This is where we hold our community sessions and we love our sisters back to life. The community process is where we discuss our sisters' behaviors and help them get a better understanding of what's going on with them and help them to correct the things that they're struggling with. So I'm currently in the PM office, and I will be starting my classes for my peer support license in June. This will give me the opportunity to give back what's been given to me.
So my name is Jeremy Calvert. I'm the current president of the Dry Dock Clubhouse. My awareness, we are the only clubhouse in Madison County. Our primary focus is to provide a safe, supportive environment for 12-step fellowships. We welcome any and all 12-step fellowships. We have open meetings, which means everyone is welcome to attend, even the family members of those that are suffering from alcoholism or addiction. We really want the public and our recovery community to feel welcome and to know that everyone is included. We did have to shut down for a couple months, but upon opening it again, we had a plan of action with the health department to provide hand sanitizer and masks, and we hired BioPure to come in and sanitize all of our surfaces so the COVID-19 virus can't live on these surfaces for up to 60 days. The dry dock itself has been in existence for I think 25 years, 15 years I believe at this location, and then it was at a different location for 10 years. To my knowledge, it primarily started out as an AA clubhouse, and then over time it has evolved like everything does, and we're now a 501(c) nonprofit. In doing that, we're evolving into trying to raise awareness and get more actively involved in our recovery community, and being able to offer resources to people that come in.
Before COVID, 90% of our funding was dollar by dollar, one at a time, in somebody's jean pocket over the threshold of the door. We also had a grant from the city, but that was kind of how we did what we could do. But when we wanted to expand our services and we realized that there was a greater need and we needed to reach out a little wider, the few events that we were doing in the community or here for celebrations, it wasn't enough, and so we needed to find a way to be able to provide that service. So we actually applied for a core grant And what that's going to do is pay for 1.5 peer support specialists. So I'm really excited about it because right now the dry dock is only open during meeting times. There's 21 meetings in a week, but sometimes you're like, I'm ready to get sober now. So what the peer support is going to do is keep the doors open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. 7 days a week. That means if anyone wants to come in at any time, whether they're considering recovery or in recovery or want to learn about substance use disorder or recovery, even harm reduction, they can come in and they can speak to that peer. And then let's say I do come in and I have a particular obstacle that's like I need a little more recovery capital, I don't have housing. Well, that peer support is going to walk me through getting the resources that I need. So it's not exactly case management, but that peer support will also have gone out into the community and made introductions and learned about how to engage in certain resources so that when someone comes in, it's not, here's a pamphlet, go to this website, here's the address, go to this building. It's, let's call so-and-so down at this office. I know them. You know, we'll need this paperwork filled out. And so it's a lot more intimate.
Obviously, during COVID, there's been a lot of changes. You know, a lot of people have been negatively impacted, including us. A lot of the fellowship home groups have shut down because they were meeting in churches. They pay rent to these churches to have their meetings, and the churches aren't allowing that yet or open to that yet. But us being our own entity, our own clubhouse, this is ours, and we're able to follow certain guidelines and remain open and provide a safe place for people to come in and still have their in-person meetings. We had to also evolve and start using our Zoom option so we could still reach each other and support each other from home. We get more of a connection and support in person. I think everybody can agree on that. But we are able to reach more people at home that might be a single mother that can't find a babysitter to come to a meeting so she can have a meeting, or a single father for that matter, or any other reason why they don't feel comfortable coming out to an in-person meeting.
Our primary purpose is to make people feel comfortable when they come in. We want to have clean seats, we want to have clean tables, and we want kids to be able to come in. We want parents to bring their kids in and it be clean and not stained. So when we come in here, our focus is what can we do to upgrade at the dry dock. And our primary thing with the donations is when we get donations, we need to put it into the dry dock so people can see that the money that's coming in, we're actually putting it towards the upgrades here. We just recently put the new plumbing all the way in under the dry dock, all the way through the new faucets and everything. We painted in here. We've had trees cut down. We're getting ready to redo the office and the bathrooms, and there's just so much that goes on inside this little building, other than just the recovery process, because we want people to feel comfortable, and if you're not feeling comfortable when you come in, then you're not going to be focused on your recovery.
For me, it was very comforting, warm. I mean, there was a warm feeling coming in, like it felt like family, like honestly, because when I first came in, of course I was nervous and I already had something in my head like what a AA meeting was, like, okay, I'm gonna go somewhere and cuss and drink coffee, but all of that happened. It wasn't like, that's not what it was all about.
And I was a client at the long-term treatment center up the street here, and this was the first place, the first AA meeting that I ever came to. It was the first place that I ever felt welcomed by the community. I don't think I ever showed up here without Jeremy or somebody saying, you know, Jody, I'm glad you're here.
They treat you like family, you know what I mean? We got a saying in the recovery world about let us love you until you can love yourself, you know? Because for so long, you know, we live a life and we don't love ourselves, we don't love nobody, you know what I mean? So it's hard for us to love ourselves, man. And whenever I came in here, I was trying to give everybody a 5, you know what I'm saying? Trying to shake everybody's hand and give them a 5, and then pull them in and get a hug, you know? And nobody ever gave me the 5, you know what I'm saying? They just automatically gave me the hug, and that's something that I've not experienced before, you know what I mean? Until I came to the dry dock and I was like, why are they hugging me for, you know? And I'm like, what's really going on here, you know? And come to find out, that's just how they was showing people love and showing people acceptance and welcoming people, you know? And I thought that's pretty awesome, man.
And I celebrated my year of sobriety here about a month and a half ago. And, you know, I knew after just a couple of weeks, or maybe like the second meeting that I came to, that I wanted, you know, to make it my home group. And I didn't even know what that meant, but I knew that it meant I'd be coming back to the next meeting.
So attendance pre-COVID was about 1,700 per month. Post-COVID, it's been about 800, between 800 and 900. But that's been pretty consistent. That does kind of show the impact that us shutting down for a short period of time had on our recovery community. All of our services are completely free. We are 100% peer-led, and what that means is that everybody doing any kind of service work here is somebody in recovery. We would accept volunteers who are not in recovery, but every decision that is made is by us. We have a business meeting once a month, and everyone is welcome to give their opinion.
So we try to provide a safe place, and we kind of partner up with Liberty Place, the treatment center up the road, and we like to, our events, you know, are not only for our recovery community, but also for them, Liberty Place and New Vista. That way, these treatment centers and get an opportunity to experience what recovery is like from those of us that are not in a treatment center, but actually live in it in our daily lives. And we're able to offer them fellowship and support and hope.
Actually, everyone is welcome, whatever their definition of recovery is, wherever they are on the spectrum of thinking about it, in the middle of it, experiencing a return to use, whatever. Absolutely everyone is welcome.
I just gained an overwhelming sense of freedom from coming in here. I met my sponsor in here, and I've made so many good friends and resources and just a lot through here, and I'm really grateful for that. That's all I want to do is help the next person that comes through that door. Whenever they go back through the other side of the door, they know that they can always have somewhere to come to, multiple times a day, every day of the week.
My name is Caitlin Arvin, and I am the clinical manager of behavioral health services at Baptist Health in Richmond. Recently, Baptist Health has recognized the imperativeness and the importance of developing robust substance use disorder services and support services for our community. And we have a really compassionate and energized team of folks, clinical and non-clinical folks that really want to see that happen. So recently we have been working, fortunately, with other partners in the community to develop treatment that is supportive for folks with SUD diagnosis and co-occurring mental health diagnosis. We offer a range of services to do that. So we have an outpatient clinic that offers individual and group support services. We offer individual therapy, medication management, as well as a wonderful CDIOP program. And for folks that aren't familiar with CDIOP, that stands for Chemical Dependency Intensive Outpatient Program. And that is a treatment model that offers a dual way of approach to treatment. So it offers both a medication management and a therapy piece to help support folks like in their road to recovery and on their journey. We also recently received some support and funding opportunity from the Kentucky Opioid Response Efforts from a core grant, and that's allowed us to partnership with other folks in the community to offer support services in conjunction with that program, such as targeted case management and peer support specialists, which is kind of amazing because we recognize as we move forward in the world of substance abuse treatment that We can't operate in silos. We have to have a multidisciplinary team approach to support folks in recovery, and therefore offering as many robust and supportive services as possible, I think, is the key in making treatment individualized and helping people on their individual specific journeys, meeting them where they're at, and rising to the occasion to support them in what makes most sense for them. In addition to that, one of my favorite services that we offer at Baptist Health Richmond is our 24-hour, 7-day-a-week crisis assessment access. So we offer behavioral health assessments, consults, and evaluations through our emergency department. We do that 24/7. So we are well aware that when the opportunity presents itself for somebody and they're ready to pursue treatment for whatever reason, we need to be responsive and act quickly. So anyone in the community can access a behavioral health clinician 24/7 through our ER. It's a warm interaction with a therapist that will do a full evaluation, and we can get them directly to whatever appropriate level of care makes the most sense for them at that time. And we walk through that process with them. We also have a care transitions medical social worker that comes and gets looped in as well, and will help that person with those foundational resources that they may need to access care, like transportation and just very basic needs, because we want to eliminate as many barriers as possible to treatment. We want to have like a hub and spoke model where we're there to support you, and whatever we need to do to make it happen, we will. So I'm excited that Baptist Health is recognizing that in the community, like the need, and that all of our partners are coming together to stop operating in silos and just really work together to support folks. And I'm excited to be a part of it.
So I'm Shirley Bowman.
And I'm Bob Bowman.
And we've been together over 30 years. We're both sober. Been sober for 33 years.
32.
And it's been a good life. I'm ahead of him. I robbed the cradle. That's called 13 stepping, but you won't go there. But anyway, it took him 20 years to get me to sing with the band. And because I didn't believe that I sounded as good as he told me I sounded. And so the songs that we picked for the recovery rally, which I am so excited about, and I can't wait to see how this turns out in the virtual atmosphere. But the songs we picked were for recovery songs. In fact, my granddaughter had introduced me to Feeling Good. And as soon as I saw the lyrics, I said, oh, I don't know who this person was that wrote this, but they've got to be in recovery.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. The sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Oh, breezes drifting by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel, and the river running free, you know how I feel. Blossoms in the tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. This old world is a new world and a bold world for me, and I'm feeling good. Stars when they shine, you know how I feel, and the scent of the pine, you know how I feel. Oh, freedom is mine, and I know how I feel. And it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good, feeling good, feeling good. New dawn, new day, new life, feeling good.
When we get in recovery, the first step that we do, and the beginning of it, and we really, we work through whatever steps you work through, whether you're in a 12-step program, a religious program, whatever it is, there are certain things you have to do. But there are other things later that come along, and stuff comes up, it just does. And you think, what's wrong with me? Why is this happening now? I don't know, I don't understand it. And it's important to know that that's normal. It's real normal for us as recovered people to not just constantly be, flying high and, yeah, it's a new dawn, a new day, and a new life. And sometimes it's a hard life, and in 33 years, I won't say that I haven't had my moments of saying, what am I doing here? And what's going on? And then looking up at HP and saying, and what are you doing here? What are you doing to me this time, And, but, support is real important, and the 12-step program, we have sponsors. I don't know how other, modalities do it, but we have sponsors, and we have community that we have built. And the worst thing that I can ever do is not speak out.
It's amazing after 32 years of sobriety that a couple things get better and better and better. Life is great right now, and you can go through little valleys, little hills and valleys. That's part of life. But you learn how to live life. I think that's what I learned. And one thing I always think of is that I really wasn't even a human being when I was drinking. I was maybe a drinking machine. That's all I did was drink and do drugs. And at this case, once I got sober, I was starting to learn how to be a human being, a real human being, and have empathy and do the things normal human beings do, in life. And that's a great thing, to be normal. It really is. I really enjoy it. It's not just a setting on the washing machine.
Man, for the first time in 25 years, I can look my mom in the eyes. And that's joy to me. The joy of not having to run from things, not look over my shoulders. That's the joy that this program gives us. It gives us a brand new life, a brand new start. And, I enjoy every minute of it. My name's Curtis Collins. I'm from Richmond, Kentucky here, and I suffered with addiction abuse for 25 years. I was born and raised here in Richmond, Kentucky. My mom and my real dad left at an early age. I was 1, I think, and I really never met him until I was 27. And so my mom married my stepdad, and I kind of went through a lot of physical and mental abuse from him being told that I would never be worth anything, I was useless, my real dad left me, blah, blah, blah. I carried that thing with me for a long time, and having that guilt, shame, and remorse, thinking that I played a part in my mama not being happy or her having to do this and that, and so then it turned into, I started treating kids bad at school, and that's where I seek my ease and comfort from, because I didn't want to tell mom about what was going on at home. And I played sports in high school, middle school, and we'd start partying on the weekends, and then it just turned into, to everyday use. drinking and drugging. And I went to prison. I went to jail the first time when I was 20. I've done 15 years in and out of prison. Every time I went to jail, it was from stealing something to get something, or possessions, and just continued on with that for over the next 25 years. Even when I was in jail, I was seeking something. You can go sit 7, 8, 2, 3 years without anything, but when you walk out that door, you have created this prison in your mind, and you have all these resentments, and you're not working on no life changes. So you continue the process. And if you got the money, you can always get it. I had my first son, and I'd tell him I loved him, and but I really wasn't part of his life for the first 16 years. I was in and out of his life. I was never there mentally. Sometimes I was there physically. I'd tell him I love him, and I swore to him I wouldn't do it again. But I really didn't even understand that I had a disease at this time. I thought that willpower was enough to overcome what I was going through, and I thought that I could control this, and I thought that this time would be different. And I went to jail for possession of meth and heroin and fentanyl. I talked my mom into coming and bonding me out. When she bonded me out, they put me on the MCR, where you take a drug test every day. I was drinking Sure-Gel to be able to pass drug test. And it just got to the bottom, and to my bottom, to where I reached my bottom, that I had to do something different. But the obsession of mine is so strong that as soon as I walked out of jail, it said, it's okay, go get you one. And that's the way my life continued until I got into the recovery process. I was going back to court because I got indicted on those charges, and I asked them for help, and they sent me to treatment. And that's where I started my journey in recovery, and it was in 2017. They sent me to Morehead Inspiration Center in Morehead, Kentucky, and I ended up spending 8 months there. I got a sponsor, I worked the steps, and I'd been to the Schwartz Center, I'd been to CTS Russell, and I'd seen these guys come up there and talk about what the 12 steps had done for their life. And I could see that they had been where I'd been, and I really identified with them. For me, it took me talking to someone that was like me. You can hear about it and learn about it, but if you've not lived it, then it's kind of hard for me to identify with you. And that's the reason it's so important for us to get through this process and continue helping people, because it's hard for us to open up to people that's not been where we're at. But I went to treatment, and like I said, I got with a group of guys that was wanting something different in their life. And there's anywhere you go, there's people that's wanting something, and there's people that's not. And I was seeking change because I was tired of being restless, irritable, and discontent. I was tired of feeling like that I had to do all these extra things to fit in. I was tired of telling my kid I loved him, and I don't even know what love is. I was tired of hating myself. I just had all these resentments against everybody, man, even God. So I go in there and I start this process, man, and I work steps 1, 2, and 3 really quick. Made a decision, turned my will and my life over to care of God. Started making an inventory. I found out that all the resentments I had was problems of my own making. And then I finally learned who I was, and I learned that I was the problem the entire time. And I sit down and I discuss this with somebody, and then I start making amends and taking a look at my character defects on a daily basis and checking my motives and everything that I do. And I'm working on 4 years of recovery now. I built a relationship with God. I figured out who I was. I'm able to love myself today. I got my own business. I got all my kids in my life. I got 5 children. Getting ready to get married in August. Not missed a bill or commitment in almost 4 years. I have a home. I have all these nice things, but the most thing that this recovery process has given me is When I lay down every night, man, I got a peace of mind. Knowing that I got up and I did my best today. Knowing that I was there for my kids. Knowing that I have a life worth living. And knowing that I don't have to have no mood or mind-altering substances to have this life. You know, that was the biggest thing, man, is I thought that I had to have this to fit in, or I thought that I could never be successful in life. And fear controlled my life. And it wasn't until I started this process, man, and I got, you know, I learned to pray for courage to walk through these things that I'm able to face. And now I face my responsibilities to that. Some things I don't like that I have to deal with, but I'm able to deal with them without having to use a drink or drug. But man, I've been sober, like I said, going on 4 years, and my life is great today, and I'm able to go and speak at other treatment centers. I got a bunch of guys that I work with, and my phone's always on. I'm always trying to help somebody, and that's the main thing with this, man, is if I continue trying to help somebody, I keep my mind off self, because I realize that so many other people's got so many other problems than I have. So a lot of people think that we're a dumb lot, and we don't have no fun, and we have this boring life, and man, recovery's gave us so much joy in our life and so much pleasure, and we get to have events and we get to do things that's fun that we didn't even know we liked doing. And we get to do the things that we remember like we liked doing before we started into the addiction process. I can't remember the last time until I got sober that I was able to fish and hunt like I get to today. And man, it just gives us a brand new life. But the most joy I get is my kids walking up and telling me they love me. My little 1-year-old, and me being able to put her to bed and take pictures of her falling asleep on me. And my little 4-year-old saying, "Daddy, I love you. Hurry up and get home." And my 13-year-old texts me every night, "Good night, I love you." And my 20-year-old calling me and asking me for money, and me being able to give him money. He don't ask a lot, but you know, I'm able to be there for them when they need to be there. That's joy to me. You know, and I tell a lot of my guys that I work with, we don't have to talk about the steps. We don't have to talk about recovery, because when you tell me that you spent the weekend with your kids, or you tell me that you had a birthday party for your kids, or you tell me how your work went this week, that's recovery. Because it's what it gives us. It gives us our life back. Now we're able to go out and enjoy our life. And that's with our responsibilities, our families. My recovery is my life. So without that, I have no life. So that's the reason I take my recovery so seriously.
My name is Stacey Evans. I am an adult peer support specialist with the New Vista program. I have had the privilege of working at the Center for Women and Children residential program, the transitional program that we offer, and also the assertive community treatment program. I've been with New Vista for 2 years, operating as a peer during my time of employment. I am in personal recovery myself, so I've been very passionate and privileged and honored to work at the facility.
My name is Farron Young, and I am the team lead clinician for the Quick Response Team. And within the Quick Response Team, we work with individuals who have experienced a non-fatal overdose, and we also provide harm reduction and prevention within the community. I've been with New Vista for about 2 years now.
Here at New Vista, we are very person-centered treatment. So we like to assess the potential client to see what their recovery goals would be and what appropriate level of care would be more successful for them to maintain long-term recovery.
One of the biggest things with the Quick Response Team is we meet individuals where they're at. We meet with them in their home, in organizations within the community, syringe exchange programs, anywhere they kind of show up, we want to be there to just talk with them and see what their recovery goals are. And then we work with them to connect them to the resources that is just going to help build their recovery capital.
When we have potential clients come to us seeking help for substance use disorders, we will do an assessment with a licensed clinician, figure out what pathways they may have tried before in the past that they have been unsuccessful to better fit them with a program that they would be more successful in. We have several different staff members, case management, behavioral health associates, peers that will then also talk to the client. We do a lot of motivational interviewing to see where they would be a good fit.
Here at New Vista, we have 3 residential treatment centers that are 28 days. We have 2 located in Lexington. They are Schwartz Center for Women, Schwartz Center for Men, and then we also have a center in Richmond. It's called Center for Women and Children that provides services for pregnant women and parenting mothers, and all 3 of those facilities are 28 days. In addition to our residential facilities, we also have a number of long-term treatment options, outpatient settings. We have the medication-assisted therapy, which is includes methadone, Suboxone for those suffering from opioid and alcohol dependence. Then we also have outpatient therapy that focuses on individual, family, and group. Intensive outpatient, which is 3 days a week for 3 hours with a total of 9 hours. After individuals have met their treatment goals, we work with them on creating an aftercare plan that connects them with resources in their local communities to help them integrate back into just everyday life.
As someone that is in long-term recovery myself, it was very important for me to feel like I had the support of my family and my loved ones, and for them to understand that I am not what I do, we are not what we do, but we are still people. It doesn't define me as a person. As long as we are still breathing, there is still hope, and thank God there are many ways to recover and many pathways that are available to us today to be able to come from a non-judgmental place and try to understand what they may be going through, but also seek services for yourself if you don't understand a substance use disorder or why they are the way that they are or why they may do the things that they do. It's important for everyone within the family circle because addiction does affect everyone. It's not just a person-centered disease. To be able to make sure that you're staying healthy yourself and seek services as well as trying to get your loved ones into services.
One of the biggest things that I see with working with individuals who struggle with substance use is just it's dark. They feel isolated, they feel like no one's around, no one's able to help, and they can't be helped. So the biggest thing that I would like the community to know is the opposite of addiction is connection. It isn't anything so big, but it can be small. It's just a conversation, and just getting these individuals connected in any way is just the first step of recovery, and as they build on those connections to sustain that recovery.
So during my time in recovery, I've also had loved ones that have suffered from substance use disorders, and it was very important for me to understand that I just can't give up, that there's always hope. You know, and that's a big piece for me and being successful in my own recovery is that I had people that just didn't give up on me. That as long as I was still up walking around, that there was still a chance that I could maintain long-term sobriety.
When an individual is ready for treatment options or just to have a conversation, they can call our 24-hour helpline. It's 1-800-928-8000, and that connects them with individuals within the organization that's going to meet with them and assess what level of care is appropriate for them.
I think that the general population of Richmond would be very surprised at the amount of opioid abuse there is.
That's why I kept doing it, because 100 times I'd get away with it, you know what I mean?
Don't ask a drug addict, what do you need to help your pain, because I need something that I can stay high and just escape reality.
If you only carry one thing throughout your entire life, let it be hope. Let it be hope that tells you better things are coming. Let it be hope that gives you endurance through even the toughest of times. Let it be hope that gives you the strength to believe that nothing is wasted. Let it be hope that gives you a reason to live. Let it be this hope that you share with the world.
Being a police officer and working on the streets, I work night shifts, so I work 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I've been exposed to a lot of different kinds of people. Drugs, unfortunately, are pretty bad in this area, and you don't have to look far to find them.
I worked specifically in foster care, where we were involved with providing care for children that had already been removed from their families. I loved what I did, and I'm thankful that it opened my eyes to the greater need in the community while I was working there. But eventually I realized there was more that I wanted to do on an individual level.
Living like that, it was hard for me to be around. I lost 44 people that was close to me, you know what I mean? Because of heroin. And it just, you just don't, it's hard to comprehend something like that. You gotta look at it this way. If I wasn't there at that time, I'd been one of them numbers, you know what I mean? God removed me from that situation. He turned it around for me so I can use it to change.
The issue that I saw early on in my career was that I was interacting with the same people over and over and over again. We felt like that we could probably do something more, and we started to pray about how God would lead us to do something more in our community, what it would look like, how we would operate, what it would be.
One day, God just really brought to my memory this time that Dan and I had spent at this really unique restaurant where we made pancakes. And I came home to him and said, I know this sounds crazy.
And we were led to open a restaurant that would only employ
people that the rest of the workforce in our community is deemed too difficult to employ.
People that have felony convictions, people that are experiencing homelessness, people in active recovery. Those are the people that we would love to employ and give another chance.
We knew that this is what we were supposed to do. We were going to make really cool, fun pancakes.
It involves you ordering ingredients off of a menu and sitting at a table that has a griddle in the middle, and we bring you the ingredients, you tell us what you want, and you can make your own pancakes, you can make your own breakfast food.
Enrich is a nonprofit, and we are what's called a soulful enterprise. Our main goal is the investment that we're going to make in the lives of our employees and in the community around us.
I've had a lot of bad stuff done to me, and I was involved in a lot of bad stuff. I completed treatment, man. My mom finally said, son, I'm proud of you, and I love you. And that's all I wanted.
There was a significant amount of faith, but the word for our employees and the people we interact with is grace.
Enrich as an employer, the goal will be to create an environment that is as supportive as possible to someone who is in the recovery process. We want to close in the afternoon so they can make it to meetings in the evenings. We want to hold them accountable for clean drug screens. We want to remove as many barriers as possible.
This isn't just about pancakes. This is about our community. And in our community, it is impossible to ignore the pain and the losses we have experienced.
That's a significant part of our operation, is the people, the community coming together to uplift them financially, to uplift them spiritually.
Be strong about the addiction, not turn back.
But we have the opportunity to bear each other's burdens, to stir up one another to love and good works, and to renew our hope.
This is a safe and effective way for us to make a difference in our community right now.
We have the opportunity to look at our fellow community members and say, surely there is a future, and your hope will not be cut off.
Enrich will be in the downtown area. We want to be high visibility in the center of town, right in the heart of Richmond, because we really believe that that's where this mission lands.
Our organization is here and it's official and it's ready to go, but obviously what we need now is financial support. We need social support, we need spiritual support, but this is going to be a robust operation and we're prepared for that. We don't want to minimize this at all, which is why we need financial contributions.
Just come out and give these folks another chance by supporting them with meaningful employment. We don't want their success story to end with Enrich. We want it to carry on wherever they decide to go in life. Reintroduce them to the life that they used to know.
in a different frame. And where to find freedom, deciding not to bring the blame. Which road is it? Rays of sunlight warming our hearts whole.